Hey everyone, lovely to see you on this Tuesday afternoon. Sorry we're a tiny bit late, we just had a couple of audio issues, but we're here now. Um, oh, sorry, we can't hear you. Keep looking at your mic.
Can you hear me now?
We are
Ah,
here.
sorry, sound issues.
It's all good. Um, yeah, hey everyone, thanks very much for joining. We will get started any second. Just give us a hello and make sure you can hear us in the chat. It'd be lovely to see you that you're there, that we're not just speaking into the ether. And we'll get cracking. Um, Today it's all about forms. We'll be running through some mainly live demos, so bear with us. But hopefully it'll give you the most insight out of this session. But I'm just going to share my screen and go through it now. Go through the slides, and then we'll kind of divvy up some demos between us. I'm just going to share this 1 second, and then let me go full screen. Okay, hopefully we can see that.
Yeah, all good
So
here, I think.
cool. So, yeah, as I said, and welcome. What we're going to do today, we're looking to um, talk about what we're trying to solve, what you can do with the forms, like why we built it, who it's for, and then the main bulk of the session is kind of around using it in a live scenario, and hopefully at the end of the session you'll be able to leave knowing about forms, what it does, how to use it, all the different use cases, and hopefully you'll share with us what it doesn't do currently right now, so we can build it out for you to make it working properly. Um, Before we do that, two dreadful pictures of ourselves. I am Simon, kind of head up the product and go to market at Socket, and I'm joined by Sai,
Hello.
who who's our
Definitely need a new picture, I think, from that.
Yeah, who's lost his moustache. But yeah, who's our customer success manager. And yeah, so we're walking through today, and we will call ourselves Simon and Sai, and that's how you know the difference between us. Cool. So I know most of you already use Socket and where you're at, but just a little refresher. What does Socket do? It's kind of the engagement platform for you with your clients, going from proposals to engagement letters to workflows to forms to billing to price monitoring and pricing. Everything in there. We also do have Tax Scout, which is looking at kind of HMRC data. Although we know that there are some recent developments that mean it's that we share with everyone that kind of it's not strictly allowed at HMRC, so you kind of do that at your own risk. If you want to talk to us about it, please let us know. But that's not the purpose of today. What we should have on here for a new little icon for forms. But this is all around kind of we do actually, sorry, it's here, and this is all around kind of like the how you use forms and how forms slots into your practice. Um, so why do we build Socket in the first place? And why do we build film forms? So I think like similar to kind of some other functionality that we've had in Socket, we know that we've seen lots of people and spoken to people, and they generally have some kind of way of collecting data. And that might be they're collecting data at the lead process, they're collecting data later. But similar to other kind of problems in this area, it's kind of scattered, it's fragmented. The data doesn't go in the right place. You have to re-enter data manually in different places. And kind of the more that we looked at it, trying to integrate with different tools, we kind of decided actually let's try and just build this out ourselves and see how it kind of flows. So we don't want you to waste your time. We don't want you to enter data in different places. And we want Socket to be like the center of your ecosystem from that lead to that one and signed proposal. So yeah, that is why forms are there. So Socket becomes a source of truth, so every submission lands on the lead or the client record. So yeah, as I kind of touched on, this kind of sits across lead generation. I suppose like to start with, you can use a form for whatever you want to. And we've already kind of seen some interesting use cases for it, which is I suppose the benefit of a form. But where do we kind of see the main kind of use cases straight away? So the first one is in the lead generation. So being able to capture information, whether that's on a website or a form, or whether that's internally, so you can manage your pipeline, and that then flows through into our leads module if you're using it. Um, the second kind of like main use case was kind of seeing is about how to collect data after someone's marketing proposal is signed. We'll show you kind of our AML flow today with Xama and how that works, and also just how like general onboarding forms might work. And then like you might need some data from people throughout the whole kind of like client journey, whether that is feedback on a service that you've run, whether that's data collection for a P11D, whether that is like name the process, new payroll starter, tax return checklist, lots of different reasons that you might need to collect some information. So you can use forms for any of those as well. Cool. And I suppose like why do we think it's a little bit different to some of the other tools out there? I suppose as we kind of talked about at the beginning, there should be like one flow for everything. So you kind of got one space where you can see this information. So you're reducing your app fatigue across like different platforms. Um, we are like it's starting and we'll do more of it is being able to kind of auto-populate information that we've already got. So like if I'm a client, I don't want to have to manually input the place in data into lots of different places. And Socket already knows quite a lot about the client already. So how can we start to like auto-populate that information and connect it to the rest of your stack? Um, our great friend AI has made building forms and data much easier. And so kind of I think previously what might used to be quite an annoying kind of process that you set up on one system and trying to move it to another system is actually really difficult. We kind of launched a good AI form builder, which kind of allows you to import, export stuff. And Sai's going to show you how to do that in an example from a website using a print PDF. So actually switching can be much easier. Um, and we've got some good conditional questions. And I suppose then we've got lots of purpose-built field types, which allow you to kind of capture the information in the right way. They've got some validation on them, which again should then flow into your kind of client records, wherever that client record might be. So a little bit more bespoke than your type forms, your Cognito forms, and other kind of data out there, which are kind of generally purpose built forms, which are really good. But I think what we can see is one, it's another tool you have to connect, and two, maybe they're not purpose built for accountants and bookkeepers, so it's a bit more tricky to kind of get the right data in. And just I suppose like we released this maybe like a week ago, was it? A week ago, a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think something that we missed, which we've got out in the moment, is like a notification. So now there's a notification on your practice any submission that you get. But keep the feedback coming. We'll keep building on it. So I think that's my pitch. Hope that makes sense. But we'll get into the meat and bones of like proper doing demo how these are all set up for now. Is there anything else to add to that, Si?
No, I think that sort of covers the brunt of it there. I think like Simon said, just keep feedback coming. We want you guys to be using forms, letting us know what works, what doesn't, what you found good, what you found bad, and we can kind of build from that. Perfect example there. As it released, people wanted notifications, wanted emails. There it is. It happens now. So just bear that in mind when you're using forms. Just let us know what you like and what you don't like.
Sweet. Right, I'll stop sharing now, and you can take over for a little bit, and then
Yeah.
I'll take over in a bit again.
So if I share, which one do I want to share? This one, I think. Yeah. Is that showing my Chrome screen all right there?
Yeah, seeing
Yep.
that.
Fab. So again, I suppose just to forgot to jump in with this at the beginning. If you have questions throughout, do pop them in the Q&A, and we can obviously either jump in with those if they're relevant, or we can go through them all at the end. But forms can be accessed just using the forms button on the left-hand menu. You should all see that in app now. And this will bring you to the three different tabs we've got there. Forms, this is all of the forms you've created. You can see the status of draft, active or inactive, depending on the state they're in. We've then got my templates. So any templates you've built. So if you wanted to set up a data set and then build forms from that data set, you can use that as a kind of template that you can create forms from. And then just to help you out, we've done some of our system templates, which is some of what we are going to go through today. But before we get on to system templates, let's look at how easy it is to create a form. So you can hit new form at the top, and you've got a couple of different options. Some of the templates, we've obviously just looked at system templates, your own, or you can start from scratch. Starting from scratch can be a bit daunting, especially when you sort of just maybe starting out with Socket, just starting out with forms and starting on a blank slate can be tricky, which is why we've now got Generate with AI. So this is what I'm going to go into initially. And if I just flick over to Socket Digital Accountant's website here, this could be your own live website. And then we'll go down to get a quote. Now, this might be a form that we normally get people to fill out on the site. So what I'm going to do is actually save this as a PDF in my downloads. And then I'm going to use Socket AI to actually build this form. So if we now jump back, and I'm going to browse and I'm going to upload this form as a PDF that I've just downloaded from my site. Then we can put a bit more in here. So we might say, I want to add in some additional verification as well as the form content. Now, when we hit generate form, what Socket AI is then going to do is in the background, it's going to analyze the document we've uploaded, and it's then going to build this form. Now, again, I'm going to go in at a stage where it's got data filled in. If you started from scratch, it just wouldn't have this data that we're going to look at. And it will give you an opportunity to review it before actually progressing to a draft form. So it's just quickly going to check everything over. And then here we are in the review. So what it says here, you've asked for additional verification, but you haven't specified what's needed. So that might be something that we would put in a bit more information in future. But as you look down, it's got the details, it's got about your business, it's got what can we help with, and then a few other things there as well, which covers a lot of the information that was here on the form on our website, or everything on the form on the website. It's just missing that additional because I didn't give it that information. So I might decide to go back, put a bit more in, but I'm not going to do that. I just wanted to show you that that can be done. So when we hit create draft form, we're now into the draft version of my lead capture form. So I've got there each section on the side, and then I've got individual details I can put in. A lot of this is already filled in. I can specify when I want required fields. I can even adjust the conditional visibility. So we could say, if we answer yes to this question, display this box. If we answer no, don't display this box, and so on and so on. We can add additional fields. And as Simon mentioned, there's lots of everything from verification, company and tax fields, as well as just simple text fields that we can add in. When we're happy with everything on there, we simply hit publish. And this has now published my lead capture form. Now, this is what the customer will see when I either send it to them or share the link. Simon's going to go through sending it individually to clients. So I'm going to show you how you would actually share this. So first things first, I'm going to go into settings and I'm going to make this into a public form that I could potentially put the link to on my website. Because it's a lead form, I can actually auto create a lead on submission as well. So what that means is when a client fills it in, it'll pop a lead on my leads form within Socket Leads that we'd access there on the left. And then you'll always get your in-app notifications. But if you also want an email inbox or a Slack message, if you've actually connected your Slack integration, you can specify that there in settings. When we hit done, we've now got a copyable link at the top. So we can send this to a client. We can pop this on our website. Or if you do like a QR code, we've also got the QR code there that we can share with our client as well. That's the basics of creating a form, and more specifically, creating a form with AI.
Just on that point,
Oh,
just
yeah,
on that point, sorry. I suppose just to recap on that, I suppose why do we show you that kind of that Socket Digital Accountant is obviously like just a page that we made, right? Just to kind of show you the illustration of it. But if you've already got forms somewhere, or you've got any kind of data, whether that's Excel or whatever it might be, it's a really like quick and easy way just to like put something into Socket so you can have a starting point. So it could be that you just put a description at the top or something, but if you already got something, it's like really good at copying that. So if you're using MS Forms, if you're using Typeform or using something else, and you kind of just want to try it out, just try that, use print to PDF, open it into here and throw it in, and it generates it pretty quickly. But you can do it another way, but it's just a really good starting point that we feel. Thanks,
Yeah.
Sam.
I mean, we've got their PDF, Word, screenshots, spreadsheets, whatever sort of form you've got the form in. Just give it a go, upload in there, and it'll read that. Now that's if we go back to our system templates, that covers the lead capture form where we'd be populating one of our leads here. The next thing I'm going to jump into is going to be what we call an onboarding form. So it might be that we've created a form here for our new client onboarding. This is one of my inactive ones, but that's okay, where we're actually asking for contact details, identity information, and so on, so else. So this could be something that we actually send to a customer when we send them a proposal, so we can skip having to ask for a bunch of extra information and roll it all into one. So if we go to our settings and our proposal settings, we can actually go down and say, which onboarding form do you want to use when they're accepting a proposal? So here's one I created earlier. This is a proposal I've sent to a client. And what I'm going to do is just copy that approval link. And I am going to pretend I'm the client logging in to use this form. So if I pop that in there, here's their proposal. They're navigating through, they're choosing their options, they're choosing extras, depending on how you've set it up. They've set up their direct debit, which I haven't done, and I've just realised that's going to stop me going anywhere, isn't it? Let me quickly fix that one. Bit of a blip in my in my plan there, so just
I'm
bear
just
with
going to
me.
pick up Vicky's question. So I think someone's asked about what happens to the additional information in the lead process. So at the moment in the lead, when you're using the socket leads rather than another lead, what you can do is you can map the a few fields like the client name, the business name, and kind of other information, and then other fields go into the additional notes, like as before, but kind of in a more structured format. So is it a dumping ground still? It's kind of a little bit it's still a dumping ground of additional information, but there is some additional mapping. But we're also looking bring in like additional ways to make that look better. But we can show you what that looks like in a minute, Vicky. So when you process a lead, what it looks like when it goes into the leads module.
Fab.
Right. Sorry, Simon.
So here's my proposal signing. Clients just signed it. When they sign it, we now get what's next. We're excited to work with you, and then complete your onboarding. They then click start onboarding, and in this new tab, here's my onboarding form. And it's then asking for those details. And I suppose this leads me nicely on to tag Simon in, where we're going to talk about the AML checks that it will also do. So if I stop sharing, do you want to jump on, Simon?
Sure, yeah. So what I showed there, um, I suppose it's like we're showing like different. Can you see my screen? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's come up.
So
Okay.
I suppose we're showing different routes to kind of get a form onto to a client. So like what he's showing there is like you can have a form, whatever it might be. Either the trigger point is, if I just go back to my slides quickly, either the trigger point is the moment they sign. So the moment they sign, like what you just saw is that the proposal got signed. Then what you see in the right hand side there was the click now, which what side has showed. They also get sent an email. Um, you can make that form as long as short as you want. I think probably the best use case for that one straight away after the kind of the proposal sign is probably a more of a short bit of data capture that you might need to start your next process because you might want to configure it a bit more. But you can kind of do whatever you want. But also at that point in the time, they also get sent an email with that information. Um, so I know lots of people want to kind of once that's happened to start the kind of AML process. And so I wanted to show you how that works and how the kind of the Xama integration works. So at the moment, this is just with Xama. We are kind of looking at some kind of other providers, but at the moment, this is just with Xama. So if I go into an active client in this AML tab here, once the client is won, I can either in the settings, if I go to insert integrations and go to Xama, what I can do is I can either automatically push new clients to Xama, which means that when a prospect becomes like an active client, it will push automatically to Xama. But you can have it so you're just doing it manually. So if we go back into here and I'm the client, I click create a client. What it's going to do is go and create a client in Xama. Actually, that's got a duplicate. One second. It's a problem with dealing with lots of death data. If I create a client in Xama, what it should do is go and click create a client in Xama, and it'll come through. And then what you'll then see is like within here, it'll show you the AML information. I'm just going to find the client that has already been created. Um, so then what actually goes onto the form itself is basically a read-only section of the form. So this is one that's been made earlier. So you can see in here, this is the information created from Xama. So once that client's created, you can push to Xama and create the information. And then in here, you got your like risk assessment. And this is like the key people from that risk assessment. So here I can see that actually I've got 3 people that I've initiated an AML check for. So in the form, what you can do is you can create a form, and in that form you can just have an AML check. So if I go into the form creator itself, I'm just going to create a new form. I'm going to call this an onboarding form, and this is going to be my AML check form. That's going to make it really, really simple to start with. So I'm just going to add in here, and I've got this identity verification check. I'm just going to publish this. So you'll be able to see from the preview here, basically, this is kind of what the information that they'll see. If I was to send this to the client, what will happen is those people that have started the AML process, they're going to see this tile, and they're going to see the different names that I just mentioned there, and they're going to be able to see that information. And the cool thing about that is it will automatically update. So let's say I go back into that client and I see that I have 3 people that have initiated the onboarding. If someone then completes it, that tile will update automatically. So you can send that to the client, and that tile will get updated automatically. If you have that AML section within a form, but you haven't got an AML initiated with them, it won't show. It'll only show if you've got an outstanding kind of AML process with that individual. I hope that kind of makes sense. I do kind of want to show you the kind of the flow of sending it, but I think that I might not be able to do it in this example here because of the email address. But we can show that later about how that email address is what they're
I think
receiving.
if you send it, it should just come up as a failed send. So it should still technically go through.
So in here you should see that, and the information comes through, and they get a link to send it to the recipient of this. When the person send what they get the information, you're kind of going to see in here, and what they would see is they see the form sent to them, and then they see that AML check within the form. So that AML check can be at any point. That could be in what Si mentioned a bit earlier, which would be at the point in which someone signs. So if you've got the automatic Xama creation in there, it would show at that point in time. But you can also do the sending of that as well, which I'll kind of show you now in a bit more detail. So how do you send forms? So once I've got the form that I've got, this is going to be for more of I'm going to take the scenario of a limited company year-end information. So I want to send this form to someone. So to start with, I can look at the form, I can see what the information is. But now I can go to send this form. So I click send to clients, and here I've got multiple ways that I can send it to the client. I can either choose a single client that I can send to, and you have seen me a second ago. I can do that through the client screen. So in here, I can see the forms. I can click send form. I can choose which one I want to send. I can choose the person I want to send to, and I can send the message individually. If I want to do that in bulk, I can go to my form. I can go to send to clients, and I can send it to either multiple people or individual people. Here there's like a search criteria. So let's say I'm going to say I want to do a client feedback. I think I've got client feedback in here, do I? Client feedback survey. So this is my client feedback survey. I've got a few questions in here, which is about your experience. How was it? What did it look like, etc., etc. And I want to send it to people that I've done. I only want to send it to companies, and I want to send it to people that I've done payroll for. I've got no idea if it's gonna choose new results. So that and I can choose all contacts or new contacts, and I can preview recipients. So it's going to show me this is the person I've done that for. This is what it's going to look like. It will show you a full list on here. And here you can exclude or include people. So kind of a bit of a review step to kind of see who you go send it to. Then you can edit the criteria, or you can cancel, or you can continue to messaging. And then you open this up. It says you've got a form to complete. You can choose who it comes from, and you can send to that person. Once it's done that, you'll then see who everyone you sent it to and how you sent it to them. And then you'll be able to see how they received it. You'll also be able to see if you've had any failures due to kind of email being sent, which you can see that I've had here due to the test. And once they submit that data, you'll then be able to see it in here. So you'll be able to see who they are, what it is, and kind of how far they've gone through it. And if you've got multiple responses, you've got to flick through those responses. Within here as well, you will have an answers table as well as a recipients table. So the recipients is all about who you sent it to, when they sent it to, and what the information is. The answers is basically a grid of all the answers that you can view in one way. So here you will see all the people that you sent it to, the information was sent, and how it looks like. And this you can download to Excel CSV. So there's kind of two ways of seeing that information of people you sent to. I've seen the chat popping off a little bit, so I'm just going to go.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in with some of them. So the first one is exporting the data. So you can't get it out as a PDF, but as Simon's shown there, it is possible to get it out as Excel data. So if you need to then add it into other systems, you can do that via Excel. Reminders was one thing. I don't know whether do you want to just go through the form link there to sort of send out reminders or invitations?
So yeah, on the PDF, I think it's definitely something we can look at as well, whether you can download this individually. Like I kind of probably see it from this view here. You could download the responses of the PDF, and that'd be a nice way to see it. I suppose some of these have files attached into them. So what we do when there's a file attached, we allow you to download it from this modal here. So we'd have to just work around how that works, but I definitely think that's something we can look at. On reminders here, so you can resend information from here. So if this is sent to someone and you want to chase them, you can resend them the invitation, which will send them the original email to the person, so you can see, and you can see the delivery and whether they've opened it. So this will send you a status in here. So that will kind of like, I suppose, is a nudge. We don't have auto reminders at the moment, but you should be able to go into see here and see kind of who's responded to the form. Hopefully that answers kind of your question, Payne.
Yeah, I think the other bit as well is if you click into the form itself, the response, sorry, there.
Yep.
Yeah. At the top right there, you've got a copy button next to the X, and that'll copy the form link of this form. So you can do your own reminders. If they've filled in half of it and left it, you can copy a link to that specific form. So if they've done, you can see their completion 50%. It allows you to just send that link and say, look, you've done 50%. There's not an automated reminder through Socket yet, but definitely something we can look at. Yeah.
And like I suppose behind the scenes, all these forms that are sent, if you've got a private form, basically it's like a unique link, what's happening. So someone can fill out free responses and leave, and we'll auto save it. So all these ones that you're sending privately are basically like your proposal. They're like a unique link that someone can have, so you can resend them that link and they should be able to access it. Got a question about sending from your own email. So yes, if you've got kind of the normal email set up within Socket, it'll go from your own email domain, which is within the communication setting in here. So you can set up your emails within the section here, which is to do with like postmark setup. If you need help with that, just give us a shout and we can help you run through that.
I think Amy's just popped the link in getting that set up. Zapier is there's triggers around using if we use Zapier for forms.
So at the moment we don't have a Zapier trigger, but again, this is something that we're looking at both from the responses, but also from like initiating. Be good to kind of get people's use cases on how that works. I'm just going to fill out a lead form in here, so people can kind of see what it looks like. So if I think this one here is my new business inquiry form. So this one, actually, I'm just going to make a really quick one so you can just see it quickly. So if I create a new form, and create it from scratch, just create a lead form. Actually, let's use a template because we'll use a simple lead capture template. So create a form from here. Um, and this has got some basic information in it. So this is where you map that to things in leads. So I got my contact name, it's mapped to this. I've got my email address, which is mapped to the email field. I've got my phone number, which is mapped to the phone number field. I then got business details, which is mapped to this is not mapped to anything. The name is mapped to the business name, and the company number is not mapped to anything else. And then we got how can you help you? So this is like a pretty straightforward lead capture form. I'm going to turn on public access. I'm going to turn on create lead. I'm going to publish this. Um, I am now going to, oh, what have I not mapped? Contact name and email. That was weird. Yeah, I think I selected it. I'm selected it. Okay, email address. Cool. Publish.
Just to jump on there, obviously Simon's showing you now. I think Vicky's just put there. Would lead chat capture just be a generic link? Yes, the link at the top when it's published there is just a generic link that you can send to anybody. You obviously we've looked at sending it by email individually if you want to send it to certain people, but obviously with something like a lead capture form, it's just going to be a generic link.
Yeah, so I've just gone into this link here. This is kind of like what you could put on your website. We are looking at like whether we can embed. It's a little bit more complicated, but we are like kind of looking at whether we can embed onto websites. But let's say this is just a link to your form. So I'm just going to fill this information in quickly. Um, this is quite nice in here. You can search a company's house. So you can do a like a lookup on here and it'll find out company's house so you can get information, which is quite nice. I wouldn't really have both my trading name on here, but I'm gonna do that for now. And then I think this has got no, this has got information. Let me do that. Bookkeeping, blah, blah, blah. Submit form. Um, so I can now go into leads, and you'll see this lead has been created in here from Hatch Apps, and you can then go into it. So this is kind of like what it looks like. Every kind of other question is created as an individual note. So all those other kind of questions are created as individual notes, and you can see the email address and the phone number and everything else has been put into here. And then here is a link between the two. So if I click view response, it's going to take me to the other part of the app, which shows me this information here, and I can see what's been responded in here. Um, so yeah, that's kind of like how that like lead form works. Hopefully it's relatively slick and straightforward. Question, are there any limitations to the number of questions you can have on a lead capture form? No, you can put as many questions as you want. There's no limitations on number of questions or number of responses from anyone.
The only
Uh,
limitation is around if you put file uploads on there, there is a 10 megabyte limit on files that customers can upload, is it?
yeah, I think per file it's 10 megabytes, and that's just the kind of the limit that we've got at the moment, but you can have multiple questions with different file uploads. So if you
Yeah,
have
I can't imagine you're going to need more than 10 megabytes per file, really, for, a PDF or an ID document or something.
yeah. So I suppose to kind of recap, we've got so obviously forms is here, is in beta. If you want to try out your system templates, which is going to go from lead capture to onboarding to data capture, you can use one of these and it will allow you to see the template and you can create a form from it. Once you're in the section here, you can go into it and you can edit it. You can make any changes that you want to. Then there's two ways to kind of send it at the moment. You either send it as a link, which is probably more popular for like a public form that you might want to fill out, like a lead capture, or you can send it privately, which sends an email to the person. There's also a way to be able to send it at the end of a proposal, which if you go into settings, if you go into proposal settings, it will ask you what form you want to send after accepting a proposal. Like if you're in the proposal, this is a setting within the customization as well. So let's say you had a standard one for new clients that you wanted, but for someone you don't want to have it, you can always change that. At the point in which they accept the proposal, they'll also be sent the email for that. So that is also been sent the email for that form. And then you can either send a form individually via accessing the client's page, going into the client view, clicking forms, you send information, and here you can track who they are, what they are, and see all the information within this space. Or you can do it in bulk from the form space by accessing the form and this one send to clients and being able to either select some filters. And once you do that, everything will flow into here. You'll be able to see who you sent it to, and you'll be able to see the answers in here. At the moment, the way that the data is exported is you can see the information as a tile here that you can flick through, or you go to the responses tab and you can download as an Excel or CSV. I think that kind of covers the main. The last thing I think which a couple of people asked about a little bit is pricing. So if you
Just
have
about to say that was somebody said there where obviously you might have all noticed we have forms available to everyone at the moment, um, but that is going to change.
yeah, so in if you have leads today, you will get a lead capture form as part of the leads module. So if you have leads, you will be able to have a lead capture form as part of the leads module. I think it is one lead capture form, so you can just have one form, which can be whatever it might be. If you don't, if And then the rest of the kind of the form functionality, including surveys, will be part of like a paid for module, which will be at the same price or as leads. If I just go to the website quickly, um, so if I go to annual, so leads is at £5 if you're on the 20 starter, it's at £10 if you're on standard, it's at £15 if you're on premium, and it's at £40 if you're on enterprise. So that is how forms will be priced, and it will be monetized from the 13th of July. Um, so yeah, that is an overview. Hopefully that's been helpful, showing you kind of a little bit of what's going on. We'll stick around for kind of any other questions that you have. I don't think. Oh, I've got a little bit of what's coming next. I'll just go into this, shall I? So at the moment, we don't fill from a lead record. Like, so let's say you had a lead capture form and you get an onboarding form afterwards. At the moment, it's not filled in, but it will be. We talked about website enabled and more field types. I think the last thing is basically getting data out in a better way, and PDFs or whatever it might be. I suppose I know some people who use things like Carbon or FYI, that kind of thing, like the Nirvana is sending all the information across, like that is something that like we're working towards, and the best way to do it, I think it might be to start with as a PDF that can be sent, and then it can be more fields like mapping to their systems, and how best to do that is something we're just working on now. But as we said, please kind of give us feedback as we're building this, as we're doing it. It'd be great to get everyone's thoughts.
Yeah. If anybody has any other questions or you want to go through things in more detail, I've just posted our support session link in the chat. So if any is our current socket customers, that's a tongue twister there. You can book a short session in, and we'd be more than happy to go through things in more detail. If you aren't a current Socket customer, if you go to usesocket.com, you can book in a demo call where we can go through forms as well as everything else with you if you're interested in the other things that Socket does. For those of you who are current customers ours, we are running a second webinar tomorrow. Myself and Rich will be running through all of the new features over the past few months. If you've been to our new features webinars before, you'll know the kind of structure of that. We won't be going into massive detail with forms because we've done that today, but everything else we will be covering. And I think the only other thing I did want to mention, which came up actually just in discussion myself and Simon yesterday, was a lot of our clients are not aware of the referral scheme that we have. So just while we've got a chunk of you in here, if you go into Socket and go to settings right at the bottom, you've got the referral scheme option. There you will get given a code. If you refer somebody using that code, they sign up for Socket and subscribe for at least 1 month, both you and them will get a free month with Socket, regardless of what add-ons and what subscription you're on. So, in black and white, you refer 12 people, you can have a year for free. And we don't limit how many times you can use that. So just for those who have friends who are accountants and bookkeepers, get referring, get yourself some money saved on your Socket subscription.
Yeah, definitely. Um, awesome.
And
Uh,
I just see Amy posting links galore there in the chat as well, so you can obviously look at all of those. Any other questions from anyone before we sort of wrap up? Nothing coming through. No, we will send you all out a recording of today's session. So if you want to watch anything back, Obviously, links are there if you want to book in a short session to go through forms in more detail. But you know where we are on support. Just ping us a message if there's anything we can help with. Anything from more from you, Simon.
No, just thanks very much everyone for your time. And yeah, as I said, if there's anything that we can do, just like give us a shout and we're here to help. I'm excited
Fab.
to see what kind of forms you create and hopefully it'll make your lives easier.
Yeah. Thanks for your time, everyone, this afternoon, and I'm sure we'll catch up soon with you all.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.